games. It's ScrubGames. Drop a like, drop a sub, go ahead and subscribe to ScrubGames. Drop a like, drop a sub, go ahead and subscribe to ScrubGames.
How's it going, Scrub Gamers? Welcome back to another video here at ScrubGames, and today we have the next of the Understanding How to Build series, where I go over all the leaders in a given set to help you understand how to build them to suit you and your playstyle. So for today we have Supreme Emperor Snoke as the next one, because we've done Morgan Elsbeth yesterday, so now we have Snoke for the next one, so if you're interested, stay tuned. Also, don't forget you can like, comment and subscribe to keep updated with my videos as and when they drop, and also by click the notification bell, you can then get alerts to my videos do drop, so you can watch them there and then, or at a later time to suit you best. And we're on our way to 2,000 subs, so we're very, very close to it now. We're getting a lot closer, so if you can help out, that'd be great. If you're already subscribed, thank you very much. So let's get into it and help you understand how to build Supreme Emperor Snoke. So for this leader, we have Snoke, and he is unique. Well, he's nice in the fact that he doesn't need to use Force. You don't need to use the Force mechanic, but you can if you want to. Just like how Morgan Elsbeth didn't need to use Force either. And he is essentially a newer version of the Grand Moff Tarkin leader from set 1, because that was one where you had to, his effect was all about buffing up Imperial units to gain experience. You can do it, there's no limit to how many experience you can put on a unit. Just once per turn, you can put an experience on a unit, on an Imperial unit for Tarkin, and you can do it twice on your deploy turn. But for Supreme Leader Snoke, he does the same kind of thing, but he is, instead of restricted to Imperial units, he's restricted to Villainy units, and unlike Tarkin, he can do it to himself. He also brings the Force, First Order, and Official trait. So Force, very good benefit, very nice. All the leaders in this set are Force anyway. But the First Order one, there's not too much benefit from it, and same with Official, you don't get too many benefits from that. But he does give it a nice effect, the exact same as Tarkin, where you pay one resource and tap him to give an experience token to a unit, but this time it's with the most power among your friendly heroic, Villainy ones. So unlike Tarkin, who can choose which Imperial to give it to, Snoke can't choose, but he can put it on any Villainy unit. So you've got a lot more of an option rather than rely on a certain trait, but you're restricted to just powering whatever your strongest thing on the board is. And the only problem with that is it can put all your eggs in one basket, so power up one thing too much, it gets taken out and you've lost all that kind of effort. You can't just spread it out like Obi-Wan can. But you can do it more. You're not restricted like Obi-Wan is, and you're not also restricted by trait, just his strongest thing. And it can even boost himself, because when he deploys, like how some leaders change completely their ability when they deploy, Supreme Leader Snoke is one of those units that, one of those leaders that when he deploys, it just gets a buffed up version of his ability. So where he needs to pay one and tap himself in the leader area to give it to your strongest hero, like Villainy unit. When he's deployed, which he can do at 6 resources, which is not too late, but later than most things, later than 5 and 4, of course. And he comes down as a 4/7. He now changes his ability to be an on attack. So whenever he attacks, he can give an experience token to he gives an experience token to a unit with the most power among your friendly Villainy units. Now, where he doesn't specify other, he can give it to himself. So if he's the only unit on the board, when he attacks, he can buff himself up, which is really nice and really good, because it means unlike Tarkin, which you need something else on the board, he can just buff himself. When he does deploy later than Tarkin, he does have a bit more power than Tarkin, but then he can also buff himself. So that's a very nice at least. But then you can also, but the nice thing about it is if you have 2 units with the same amount of power, you can choose which one gets buffed. So if you've got 2 that have the same power, one's already attacked, you can then go and choose the one that hasn't attacked to give the buff to if you want to. So nice utility, doesn't need to use the Force and not reliant on the Force mechanic of Force users to do the effect. Very easy to do, doesn't require anything outside, just buff. You need a unit to buff essentially, and buffing himself means he's pretty good. So he's a pretty strong leader. It's just a shame that most of the time with leaders it comes to green bases being more used than the green leaders. He also has a showcase as well, and just remember with showcase they are just alternative arts. So these are more higher rarity, more sparkly kind of arts. Give you an alternative one to kind of bling out your deck. But since they are alternative arts and art is subjective, the only opinion that matters on the art is you, because if you're only going to be the one playing it, and if you like it, fair enough, you can get it. If you don't like it, fair enough, you don't have to get it. So only your review matters on the showcase, because you'll be the one using the card. So that is the leader. Now let's get into the benefits of some benefits of Snoke. Now this will be typically where I go over the basics of the game for any brand new players or newer players, but given feedback, because I used to do that with the previous series, I've kind of cut this off. But what I've done is I've created a brand new video that I put out before the series, covering from set 5 the basics of the game. So it's called Understanding the Basics, where it goes through all the basics of the game, being like bases, ratios, aspects, aspect penalty, everything you need to know as a basic knowledge for the game if you're a brand new player or newer player to the game. And the cut out would save me time, people not knowing how to skip it and stuff like that. I've kind of put into another one, so it should be a card showing up, so you can click on that. So unfortunately that will mean you have to go to a second video, but at least it's not like too many videos. Just go into a second one, learn the basics, and come back and learn more about Snoke. It could be pretty handy. So if you're a brand new player or a newer player, I recommend to check it out. If not, if you're more a veteran one and don't really need that, then let's get on to some benefits of Snoke. So firstly, we got to see how many aspect options you have, because before you really had, since the beginning of the game, you really only had 4 options, because you get your aspects from your leader, in this case being Villainy and Command. So you always get that with Snoke. Then depending on what base you get, or what base you add, you get another aspect. So you get double green if you go for a green base, you get blue from blue, red from red, and yellow from yellow. But you can also have a 5th option technically, but I've not put it in because it's not really worth it in the majority of decks, like 99% of decks. And that is the Lake Country base from set 4, which is a 34 health base, but it has no aspects. It doesn't provide you any other aspects, so you're stuck with the ones that your leader provides you. And that's not too bad, but you're then losing out on the whole other aspect with it. So I haven't included that because it's not really worth it. And with now we have leaders that have technically just one aspect. You can go all the way down to potentially, even if you want to go very hardcore, having a 1 aspect deck. So unfortunately, but luckily for Snoke, he gets the option of really having 4 different options. I'm going to go for each of these ones to see what benefits they have, and if Snoke is any good in going for them. So the first one we're going to go over is Command, because that's the aspect that, Command and Villainy, because that's what aspects Snoke provides. So it's best to go over what he provides before seeing what he gets when he gets a base attached. And also, it's good to kind of go over the double aspect one first as well, because that's the one where you have a smaller card pool compared to the other kind of aspects. So start with the base. You've got a lot of options. If you want to go for Force, you've got the standard Force base of common ones where you need to attack with Force unit to gain Force. And then for green, you've got the Mystic Monastery as the red one. As the green one, as the rare base, And that is one that allows you to get the Force just by using the action, gain the Force, but you can only use it 3 times a game. So if you don't really need to use the Force too often, you can use this maybe just to gain the Force without needing to do certain things like attack with a Force unit. And just, depends on how much you need to use Force. Now, since Snoke doesn't need to use the Force, you don't really need to use it, but that's an option if you want to. Otherwise, you've got bases like Energy Conversion Lab, or ECL for short, Data Vault, and your normal 30 health bases as good options, like Energy Conversion Lab, or ECL, and Data Vault are very strong ones. ECL will only give a player 6 cost unit as long as you pay the cost of the card. Ambush, when it plays, is pretty strong. It's very strong, especially with that Vader card, Vader Legendary from the new set. And Data Vault is one that is very popular because it gives you 3 more health, and the only cost is to add 10 more cards to your main deck, being a minimum deck of 60 instead of 50 when you start. So, good options if you want to go double green. Those are the kind of basic options. Now, nice thing about green is that it's the ramp aspect, meaning you can increase your resources quicker and easier than any other deck, because it's the one where you can use effects to increase your resources by putting cards into resource outside of your normal resource step at the end of your turn. And the 4 cards you've got to really easily ramp are Super Laser Technician, Resupply Carrier, Price of Your Head, and Resupply. Now the easiest one out of this is Resupply, because essentially as soon as you hit turn 2, use it, and it's very easy. Just play it, resource it. No other things need to happen. You just resource the card. Very easy, and it's available to both Villainy and Heroism. You got Super Laser Technician, which is the ringless one, also turn 2 from the earliest. And all you need to do is have it defeated, which is very easy to do, ram into your opponent's unit, or you can ping it yourself with some kind of damage effect, and then you resource it. And the nice thing about this is unique in that when it enters play as a resource, it comes in ready. So you put into place resource and ready it, and you can use it straight away. Whereas other ramps you don't get to; they come in rested. Now, pricing ahead is a bounty one where you can do it turn 1, but you can't ramp turn 1. You can put on something turn 1, and then as long as you can defeat it easily, you can then ramp your resources. It can be a never easy way to do it. And you got resupply carrier for a later ramp that you can do later on in the game once you get 6 resources, ramp up further, give you extra ramp if you need it. So if you want to hit like the really expensive cards, this could be a way to help you do so. So those are the 4 ramp cards, the easy ramp cards that you've got, and really the better ones out of it. And then we've got some other cards as well. So in command, or in any aspect really, most cards are better, or the better cards are in the ones that share an aspect with villainy or heroism. So it means the villainy or heroism side of the aspect I usually have the stronger cards. But there are still some good cards in the normal versions of the aspects. So for command, you've got some pretty nice ones. So you've got some good ones like Sentinels in the Moring Retainer. You've got some good units in like Maz Kanana, like ones that can allow a unit to attack with a buff. Wheelay Pilot is a kind of nice ambush one, plus Smuggle as well for those good kind of kind of useful smuggles where you can play it from your resources if need be to save you a bit of hand. You also got Jedi Temple Guardian as like ambush plus restore. You got other ambush ones like Torrentidirect and in your counter ambush means they can attack the same turn they're played, which is pretty cool. You got, if you want to use the Force, you got things like Daegu and Master to help you search for some Force units by using the Force when it's played or defeated. And you got your bigger units like your Artisan's Assault Cruiser and Resupply Walker, Reinforcement Walker, which are both like those big top end units which can do nice things like the Assault Cruiser can ambush the same turn it's played, and also if it defeats something, then it ramps it into your resource as well. So when it defeats a unit, you ramp it into your resources. So you take your opponent's unit that you defeat with it and put it in your resources, which is cool. So it's extra ramp. And you got Reinforcement, which is a way to either gain you more cards or heal your base depending on what you choose for its effect. You also got some good events and upgrades, like you've got Timely Invention as a way to give another way to give units that don't have ambush, which is cool. You pay an extra 1 to the normal cost because you're using the event, but you get to play it with ambush, and you can also smuggle it as well, which is what it means is always useful if you just resource it. You got Resupply the ramp, and you got Traitorous as a way to take your opponent's smaller units to have control of them. So that's normal command, but in Villainy you've got some pretty nice ones as well. You've got some pretty powerful cards. Like you've got a bit of healing with Salacious Crumb, which can give you a little healing over time because you can keep reusing it over again, because one of its effects allows you to like bounce it back to the hand to play again. You got Resupply, Super Laser Technician for the ramp as well. You got Phase 3 Dark Trooper for some like good Sentinels as well, pretty decent Sentinel. It's like it's an improvement on Cell Block Guard because it can boost itself as well with experience if it survives an attack or it survives combat. You got your only 3 Force units in Villainy, which are 8th Brother, Darth Vader, and Maul. All of them have ambush that they can attack the same turn they're played, and also benefits. 8th Brother mainly using the Force to buff up something. You got Darth Vader, which can bring out more than just more than 7 resources worth of cards, and you got Maul as well, which can ambush, pierce through as well with Overwhelm, and also potentially let something else take the damage. And for spaceships, you've got some pretty good things. Like you've got some ISR with loads of keywords. You've got Relentless, which can help shut off your opponent's first event a turn, and Devastator being the big bad Sentinel that can also take out something when it's played. Then alongside those, you've got Overwhelm Barrage and Palpatine's Return, some really good events, like Overwhelm Barrage being a very good one, and then you've got Craven Power being one of those new upgrades that is like another version of Overwhelm Barrage, just a little bit. This functions in a different way, does almost the similar things, but in a different way. So, very good Villainy cards. And don't forget that you've got cards that are just Villainy as well. So if you want to go for a Force focus, really you've got Kylo and Darth Tyrannus as like Force units to gain the Force. Also, kind of be a nice turn 1 play, and even Darth Tyrannus can come in with ambush if you've got the Force, a good reason to get the Force token. And you have units like you've got more Sentinels and Cell Block Guard, and also the Shuttle ST as well, which can come in shields and take some of your opponent, or take away token upgrades from your opponents like shields and experience, and put them on whatever you want to put them on. And if you want to go for a Force focus, unfortunately there aren't too many Force units in green. And literally, if you want to go for the Force units in just Snoke's aspects that he has, these are the only ones. The only 12 Force units in Villainy, Soul Villainy, and Command plus Villainy Command. which isn't great. It's not many, but there are some nice ones. Like, once again, you got the Villainy command ones, which all have ambush. You got some pretty useful ones, normal green, and even then, the other ones you've got that we haven't already seen are like Fallen Jedi, not too bad in stats, but no skills. Darth Manic, which gets a better benefit with a Sith Leader, which Snoke is not, and the Sun, which can buff up everything by an extra 2 power while you control a Force. So, you've got some Force focused stuff, but it's not really amazing. So now we look at what basically Snoke has. Let's have a look and see what happens when you have the double aspect. So for double aspect, you essentially sacrifice a whole other aspect like red, blue, or yellow, and have these 12 cards. So you're losing a lot of other options, but gaining these 12 cards. And what you've got to make sure with double aspect is if these double aspect cards, if they're worth it or powerful enough, they're worth it for sacrificing a whole other aspect. So these are the ones we've got. We've got the 3 for set 1 being Krill, Tap Out and Delta Command being a nice one, extra ramp. You got the set 2 ones being Lackeys, Loyalty, and Legions. Which Endless Legions is more like a gimmick one, which you can give you maximum ramp to kind of ramp up into it, but there's better ways to use it. You've got them for set 3, Maz Amedea, the Soldiers, and the Assault, which Maz Amedea can help you kind of recur a unit by having it as a turn play and keep using it to kind of find more units as you play units, but the other two aren't so great. You got Unity of Purpose, which is the only one we got in set 4, which you need to have a lot of different named units, so that way you can get the biggest benefit of it, which could seem trouble in double green and not as once again, just like Endless Legions, is utilized better in a different deck. And then you got the new 2, which is Opus Francis, which is all about gaining the same same keywords as another unit on board. And you've also got the Accelerator Assault Ship, which buffs up Sank when it attacks. So I would say out of all these different cards that you get for double aspect, there's only 5 of them that are worthwhile. Command is a good one to help you give extra ramp, recycle things when you drop, and also buff up things. Its damage effect isn't really useful because most cards played are unique and you can hit a unique card with it. Sucks, but not what it is. Then you've got the Lackeys, which are nice because it's a recurring smuggle card, because you can smuggle out from your resources instead of your hand to save yourself on hand size. But then when it's defeated, you can defeat a resource to put it back into your resources so you can smuggle it out again. So nice utility there. Maz Amedea, as I said, you can play at turn 1, and then every turn after when you're playing a unit, you can use it to find more units, so you make sure you've got the plenty of things to play. And the 2D one's pretty nice because Opus copies like all the keywords any other units has, so whatever keywords your other units have, he'll have too. And he's got solid stats for its cost. And the Accelerator Assault Ship is pretty good, not too bad for its stats, and then every time it attacks it can buff up something, make it even stronger, and put that on top with Snoke. You can then kind of use it to choose what's going to get buffed by Snoke by having that extra power. So it gives it a 5/5 boost. So you can kind of select what you want to have boost with Snoke, and then have the unit swing pretty hard, which is pretty handy. So there's only 5 it gets, so essentially you're second for a whole other aspect for these 5 cards. So is double aspect worth it for Snoke? Not really. I don't think double aspect is worth it, but if you want to go for it, give it a try, but I wouldn't recommend it. So let's move on to the first ever aspect you get when you add a base, and that is Vigilance. So once again for bases, you've got the 4 bases, Shadow of the City and Virgin's Temple. So Shadow of the City is the one attack with a Force unit gain Force, whereas Virgin's Temple is a way to gain the Force without needing to attack, by just at the end of your turn having a unit with 4 or less, or 4 or more remaining HP. This means you can almost guarantee the Force easier for the start of your turn, but limits you to only having the Force once a turn really. So a little bit more restrictive. Then for other bases, you've got Colossus, which is kind of one that's kind of popular, kind of not. It's one that gives you the maximum health for 35, but makes your opening hand less by making it so you open it with 1 less card, which gives you less options. You've got Pal City, which while Snoke's deployed, he's got 1 extra health, but at the cost of 4 health on your base, which is, you have to decide if that's worth it. Or you got the 30 health bases, which you can have as well to get that middle ground effect. So those are the bases. Then we've got Anakin. So every time we cover blue for any leader, we're going to make sure we cover Anakin, because it's a card that needs to use both sides of the Force, being Villainy or Heroism, to get the full effect. So some decks might want to incorporate some Heroism cards if they're Villainy, or vice versa. And use it as a way to get the cards in the discard if they got a way to do it, easy enough way, and get the full effect of it. So it's minusing 6/6 instead of just 3/3. Even then, just 3/3 is still worth it, but 6/6 is better. So for blue, I would say Mystic Reflection is probably one of the easiest ways to do it, because since we got a Force Leader, we can get the full effect of it by minusing unit by 2/2, and I can even add on to Anakin with it as well. Then so you have to pay about 9 for it, which you can probably get late enough with Snoke to do it, but then it adds more minusing to help finish off things as well. As a low cost card for Force Throw to make sure if your opponent Force Throws you, you're getting the minimum damage by just 1 damage instead. And if you can find a way to easily discard it, and it's a card that if you can't easily discard into discard, you can easily play it by only costing 3, which is not too bad for the effect. Then for Villainy, we've got, so Vigilance Villainy is where you've got some really strong things for control. So you've got some pretty nice cards in that you've got like some good turn ones in like the Pike Sentinel and Director Cunning as solid turn 1 units that you can then also buff up with Snoke. You've got the Client and Supremacy. So Supremacy, you can have this as a Sentinel in space to help deal with those space units, while also then buffing it thanks to Snoke as well to keep buffing up more, so it's even bigger and bigger for them to deal with. And you've got the Client as a way to get some healing and also buff this up as well so it hits hard or just heal you down. You got Item, which gives you option of having a unit you can put in the ground arena you can then buff that comes in shielded, or put on a space unit that protect it while also buffing it. And you even got Charlton then, which can then come out if you show 4 blue cards. As a 6/6 Sentinel, you can even buff as well. You also got some pretty nice units like Gunship, Dooku, and Avenger as well as nice units. Dooku can also add to the Force because it's shielded as removal. Same with Gunship comes in removal as well, and you can get Grit, so you can damage it and even buff it up to make it huge. And the more health you give it, the more damage you take to be bigger with Grip. And you've got Avenger, which is nice removal, forcing your opponent to defeat one of their units every time it's played or attacks. Then for events as well, you've got some good removal. So blue is good for removal. You've got Super Laser Blast as a massive board wipe, both yours and your opponent's. No Glory results, taking one of your opponent's units, defeating it, which gets around things like Chewbacca or even Lurking Tie. And Paradoxa, which is like a mini Avenger. Then in normal Vigilance, you also got some nice things as well. So you've got some cool cards you might want to buff. You got Moisture Farmer, which you can put in, which is useful to then heal you, plus also buff up. Well, you can't really buff up with Snoke, I forgot his Villainy, but there is a nice unit to give you healing. You got Secretive Sage as well, which gives you a shielded unit as well, so if you want to use the Force. And also just a nice turn 1 shielded unit you can have out. You got Axe Woes, which the more you upgrade it, then the more it gets powerful, because for every upgrade you put on it, it gets extra 1/1, which comes in as a free thanks to being shielded. And anything more you put on it, the bigger it gets. Another shielded unit you can get is Outer Rim Outlaws, which is shielded 3/3, which is cool. You also got the Juggernaut and the Relief Runner, as well as bigger units that can help you get some more healing, because Vigilance is not just removal, it's also healing. You got some good events, you got some good upgrades you can put, like Entrench, which can be used both offensively and defensively, which is useful. And you got Paris Position as well, which is the first upgrade you got minus stats. You also got good removal, like so not only the Villainy removal, you also got removal in just the normal blue, being like Takedown, Fellow Dragon, Vanquish, and Rebel's Fall, which all take out something, just different restrictions, different costs. And if you do want to go for Force Focus, which remember you don't have to do with Snoke, you have a lot of good cards here. You have the Night Sister core as well, which is pretty cool, pretty nice. Using the Force to like minus things, like minus the power armor stuff as well. You even got things like Chirrut, which can use the Force to be a harder take down Sentinel by reduce the damage it takes by using the Force constantly. Kiadi Monday being a very nice one to get you more draws if you more cards by drawing more if you have it out with 2 other units. And you got some bigger units like you got Anakin and Vader, which are very, very strong legendaries for new set, very powerful, especially with Vader being combined with green. If you use ECL plus Timely Invention, you can get the full benefit, turning it into a pretty decent card to a busted card. And then for your big end ones, you got Dooku, Snoke, and Darth Tyrannus as well. For your bigger end ones that provide you some good support, hold off your opponent and just annoy them. And then more removal in Shatterpoint, but using the Force to take out anything that's not a leader. So is blue a good option for Snoke? I would say absolutely yes, because that combination of blue, green, and Villainy gives you a lot of control and destruction effects to make sure you can kind of control the game, grind it out, and even then conquer the late game when you've got a lot more resources to play those big units. So next we have Aggression. So this is a damaging focus aspect. And you've got some pretty nice bases for this one. You've got the force bases, which both essentially required to attack to gain the force, and in different ways. So the normal common ones are attack with a force unit. The other one is the rare one, which needs you to do 3 damage through combat with a unit. So as long as you do it, you can gain the force that way. So it can make every unit get you the force, as long as they can do 3 damage from that attack. You got Target Town, which is a popular base along Tempo decks, being able to take out a unit, finish off a unit that is damaged, and you got Thermal Oscillator as a way to reduce your deck size to make sure you're a bit more consistent by reducing your deck by 5 cards, making it a 45 minimum instead of 50. Or if you don't like any of those, you've got 3 health fixes. So with Villainy, you've got a lot more force options with Villainy that you can play earlier to just basically focus on damage or just have force units out. You also got some good turn 1 units, like you've got the Antagonizer, which is one that help you spam the board, get more things out, or even them play out turn 1, then buff it straight away with Snoke, which is cool. You got a the Strike Ship, which can hit hard, but is quite weak to hit when being attacked into because it only has 0 power, but has raid 3. You got some of the force units as well, like 5th Brother, Grand Inquisitor, and 7th Sister. These are all force units that help you gain the force and make use of those cards like Force Throw and Force Lightning to their best ability. You also got Thralls of the Coven, which is a 3/7 but has raid 3, so it swings for 6, and you can buff him up with Snoke to make him so he hits very hard. And in your top end, you've got things like spaceships like Ruthless Raider and Devastator being very strong ships that just throw damage to your opponent's base. And Devastator even be one that can out finish you off games as well. And then you even got Palpatine, which can come down and throw damage however you choose among your units, opponent's units as well. Then for upgrades and events, you've got Force Lightning being a way just as a minimum shut off abilities from a unit. And then if you pay more resources and control a force unit, control a force unit, you can pay more to then do damage to that unit you choose as well, equal to number of units times 2, or not number of resources you actually pay extra times 2. You got Force Stroke as a way to just 5 damage to a non-vehicle, but they do get a draw card. And then Fallen Lightsaber as a good upgrade, nice little Villainy side lightsaber you can put on units too. The normal aggression, this is where you don't have there's not too many great units, and there's not many, since it's not a villain, you're not going to really buff them. You got some small units that can help benefit you, like these ones on screen, like with Witch of the Mist, Tina Braga, and Housecast Soldier. You also got Jedi and Harding if you want to use the Force as a way to make your opponent discard, so you can do a bit of discarding from red, which is cool. You also got Champs Sedula, which can also ramp you if you're not choosing the ramp but your opponent is, you can use that. And you got Crate Dragon for your top end if you eventually get to it, and you can get there a lot easier than most decks because you are green, you can ramp up to it. You also got good events as well. You got Force Throw to make full use of the Force package if you want, or Force units, especially being a Force leader. You got damaging ones like Daring Raid and Open Fire, which does damage to a unit, whereas Daring Raid can do it to a base as well, do a certain amount of damage. You got Pillage as well, choose your opponent, make him discard 2. And you got ever damaging ones like Bombing Run and Planetary Bombardment. Bombing Run to help with those space aggro decks, whereas Planetary Bombardment just throws damage at your opponent, indirect damage. It does more if you have a capital ship, and then they can choose where it goes. Unless you got Devastator, which then allows you to choose where it goes. And for a Force Focus, there's not too many. Well, there's some good stuff in there for Force Focus, but then remember you don't have to use it, but if you want to. You got the Acolyte to be able to gain you the Force easier by just when it attacks it defeated, so you don't have to worry about not being able to gain it. You got the Force units like 5th Brother, Grand Inquisitor, 7th Sister, Darth Vader, and Palpatine as your Villainy side that you can all buff, and even Vader can become more utility by being able to be a pilot as well if you want to. And then you got Jedi Harding, Merrin, Quinlan, and Asajj as your non-Villainy ones, which can get you good benefits as well. And then you got ways to use the Force with events like Sorcerer's Blast for damage and Do or Do Not for drawing. So, is aggression a good option for Snoke? I would say yes, because you got the ramping from green, and you also got the damaging from red, so you can buff things up while also damaging and put out some good, nice threats. And also Force Throw with more Force units is just stronger than it was before. And then lastly we have Cunning. So this is the Jack of all trades aspect, and it's one where there are a lot of good cards in there, a lot of good leaders and good cards in Cunning, but the bases lack a little bit. Like for the Force bases, you got the standard attack with a Force unit in Holy City and Crystal Caves. But then the rare is a base which you can gain the force multiple times, but you need to, as an action, as a cost of the action to gain the force, exhaust a friendly unit, which if you're exhausting a unit, you're not really attacking with it, and you're not really getting much benefit from that unit. So not the best, but it's an option. And for rare bases, whatever bases you've got, things like Petronach Arena, which can give a extra power to Snoke when he's deployed, but not always worth it. It's for the low health. You've got the Bat Village, which can increase your consistency of your opening hand, but takes away your mulligan, and you don't get to keep the extra cards you do draw as well. It just adds a bit of consistency to your opening hand and makes sure your openings are more consistent. And you got the 30 health bases as standard if you want to go for it. So bases lacking a little bit, but a strong aspect. So with Villainy, you've got some really good cards, but they're mainly on the underworld stage. But lucky for Snoke, he doesn't really care about traits. He just wants to buff up whatever you have the strongest. And you got some really nice ones. So you've got some good turn 1 units like Aura or Bib. Bib can help you play some events a little bit cheaper, whereas Aura come down, and while she's not the strongest in 1 power, she does have raids, so she hits a little harder. So if you can buff her up, she can hit very, very hard. Same thing with Nar Marauder as well, same kind of thing. Not the strongest, but has raids when it's attacking, is strong. When it's attacked into, not too much. And you got Shin Hati as well for a good unit. It comes in shielded and also hidden, so it can be attacked. And you got bigger units like Bosk and the Techno Union Transport, being some nice units that have, well, Techno Union has shielded, so it's protected, whilst Bosk can ambush and then have a benefit where every time you use an event, which could be ramping and things like that, you get to do 2 damage to a unit, which is cool. You got the combo of Zuckuss and Forlom as well, which is pretty nice. You like Ambush and Saboteur that buff each other when they're both out together. Bazir for hand control, some good space units like Lurking Tai and Fleet Defender. Like Lurking Tai being a nice one where, just like how it was with Tarkin, if you can start buffing this up where it's very hard to take down and your opponent can't capture it, well, because you can't capture it, but your opponent can't bounce it back to the hand, then it's going to be very hard to take down since it can be captured, damaged, or even defeated by enemy card abilities. So if you can buff this up to be very high, then it's going to be an unstoppable force that just keeps coming down, and then it's just going to steamroll your opponent. Whereas 7 Fleet Defender comes in shielded, and you got Can for your top end that can capture a load of things, and then kind of give them a ransom where you can draw 2 cards if they want to, where any attacks, they can give you 2 cards if they want to rescue a card from him. In normal Cunning, it's not too much like the best stuff. You got some, because remember, you're not going to buff any of these units, but you got some good ones if you want to use like Force. You got some good units like Crafty Smuggler comes in shielded, or the Land Speeder comes in to ambush straight away. And same, you got some ambush and things like Syndicate Lackeys, even Stereo Hermit for the Force turn 1, and Fennec Shand as well. You also got Dooku to kind of re-trigger a hidden that you've got on any units too. You also got some good events, like you've got Electromagnetic Pulse to deal with those like vehicles, kind of damage them plus ping them. Be handy. Surprise Strike to hit harder. Outmaneuver to just tap down a whole arena, especially if you're not going for space and want to kind of go against those, like help out a little bit against those space aggros. And you even got now there 2 of them Waylays, some nice ones. Waylay temporary removal, while now there 2 of them can help you cheat out something 2 turns ahead. For Force Focus, there isn't too much. You haven't got too many units in the yellow side of in the Force for yellow. You got, I think there was none really until none in the Villainy and normal side until this set. So you got these ones as good options, and also you got some good some events. Not too many great ones. Like you got As I've seen, which you can't really get the best benefit, like how Yoda can make good use of. Now there are 2 of them. This can the Villainy side doesn't have a Yoda kind of ability to help make As I've seen better, but maybe that will be in future. Liberated by Darkness, that's the name of it. He's like a Villainy change of heart. You got Test Your Instincts is like a Force version of Shoot First, and then Will the Force is like a Force version of Waylay, and you got the other ones as well. So Force Focus is available, but it's not the greatest. But can you do well with Snoke? I reckon you can do pretty well. You focus into more of a like underworld focus, but you can get some ambushing and buffing up those units, Villainy units as well, make them like stick around longer. Even turn things like Bazine from something that can just hand control turn 1 into maybe being a movement or threat is pretty good. So finally, to end out the video, we have my preferred aspects. This is something that I end the video on, because it was previously asked in seasons before I just started adding it in, ask what my preferred aspects, because mostly everybody's got preferred way they like to play a leader, and I always like to put mine in, because if it helps out, if it's a little extra bit to help you out, then it's really a good thing. So for Snoke, if I were to play Supreme Leader Snoke, I will play him with blue, because blue-green on the Villainy side is a great combination, because it offers you a lot of removal and healing on the blue side, and then ramp and big units on the green side. Plus, going into some of the good big units in blue, thanks a little bit easier thanks to the green, is always welcome. So if I would play Snoke, blue would be my option. So that brings us to the end of the video, and that is it for Supreme Leader Snoke. Hopefully that's helped you understand how to build it to suit you and your playstyle. So that is it for the Villainy side. Now we're going to move to the next one tomorrow, being Avar Chris. So if you're interested in that, check it out, and also don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.